So thank you very much. I just wanted to present this activity that I created with a colleague, Mara Fuertes Gutierrez, and the activity is about translating TED Talks. The main aim of the activity is to introduce language students to translation and subtitling using TED Talks. Also to allow them to choose what they want to translate, to personalize their learning, and to introduce them to an activity that they can continue to engage with beyond their formal education. In the book, you will find all the details for this activity, but I wanted to highlight a few points about it. Some underpinning principles. So one of the ideas of this activity is to engage in open pedagogy. And what I mean by open pedagogy is a way, an approach to teaching that makes use of open tools, open resources, and communities that are already existing out in the world. The idea is that this is a very student-centered activity, so the student is in control of what they translate, how they engage with the task, who they liaise with, who they get support from, and so on. Again, pedagogy is project-based, so they are asked to translate a talk. So, you know, the idea is that they engage in this project and then they have to do a whole series of things to deliver that translation at the end. Very much key to this approach to teaching is to allow choice and personalization of the task. So depending on the setting, you can allow the students to choose their language combination, for example, to choose the topic they're translating, and so on. And other elements of this are experiential learning. So students will practice their language skills, their writing skills, and so on through doing it, you know, not through being told how to do it. And situated learning. So they will be learning within a community that is engaged in doing that activity, that particular activity. And also very important is the idea of working with authentic materials. Okay. So why did we want students to do that? We wanted them to engage with real tasks and with current topics. And if you are familiar with TED Talks, you know that they are very up to the minute in terms of topics and things, you know, research, for example, in the sciences and technology. We also wanted this idea of using existing open resources, tools, and communities so that it's not the teacher who always has to come up with a new tool or a new material, but the student can go out there and find the material themselves and find the support that they need to continue improving their, continue improving their language skills. So we get students to find and generate the content instead of providing them with everything. So we move away from this idea of the teacher being key to directing the students and, you know, use this student-centered pedagogy, as I said. And obviously very important to strengthen information and digital literacy skills for our students. Why TED Talks? Because TED, as I said, has got very interesting and current topics, very updated topics. It also has this community of translators called TED Translators, which has over 20,000, I think it's 30,000 by now, translators in it, who translate TED Talks and TEDx talks from English into other languages and also from other languages into English. They also have a very good support system in place. So they have a whole series of tutorials that support the students on how to use the tools, how to review, how to transcribe, how to translate, and so on, including a range of language coordinators for each language who provide support and mentoring for the students. So we have a ready-made community of learning there that can support our students as they engage with this activity. What are the benefits for our students? Well, develop professional skills in translating and reviewing, proofreading, and doing this through a real task. Develop their digital skills, but also their collaboration and sharing skills. The choice of choosing the topics and the activities of their interest increases motivation. So when we've used this activity, all the students have commented on how great it is that they can just pick a topic that they're really passionate about. Because the translations that the students engage with, if they want to, if they publish them with TED, their translations, they go into their online profile, which means that they kind of create a visible portfolio of work. We've used this also with our translation students, and that's really important point for them, because they have published translations that they can include in their professional portfolio. There's also the opportunity, particularly for our translation students, to network and benefit from feedback and guidance from more expert translators. And as I said before, the external resources that remain current and up to date, the platform, the subtitling platform, until now it was Amara that was used, and now it's been changed to Caption Hub, but basically, tools which are in current use by professionals and different communities. So if I explain briefly how we implement this activity, we get students to create their profiles in TED and also in the subtitling tool, as I said, Amara until very recently, and now it's changed to Caption Hub. We get them to choose a talk that they want to translate. We created a discussion forum so that we could introduce some concepts about translation and about subtitling, because when we used this activity, it was with B2 to C1, so advanced learners of the language. But they were language students rather than translation students in this particular case. I'm describing the case that's described in the book. We also talk a little bit about the ethics of volunteering, because that is quite a controversial topic in the translation field. So we get the students to work on their translations independently. There's also quite a learning curve to start with in terms of getting familiar with the tool and the processes and the workflows. And we support the students, but they can also get supported by the Facebook communities that TED translators have for each particular language. What we do then is we get the students to share their first draft of their translation with their peers in the group. And that way we introduce an extra step of peer review and collaboration amongst our group of students. They then can refine their translations with the feedback they've received from their peers. And when they are ready, then they can decide whether they want to submit that translation to TED translators for the official review by another volunteer. If they do that, then their translation will get published. But we're very careful to tell students that that's not a compulsory part of the activity, because we're very mindful that obviously not everybody might want their work to be published openly out there in the ether. So that's a choice for the students. In the activity, as we used it, we then asked the students to write a short report explaining how they engaged with the task and explaining different challenges that they encountered. And we asked them to talk about a technical challenge they encountered, a linguistic challenge they encountered in their translation, and a cultural challenge, which could be to do with the translation itself, or it could be to do with intercultural communication with other volunteers in the platform. This talk is available, the talks available in TED range from 3 or 4 minutes to 20 minutes. So we asked students for the first activity they did in this platform to choose something that was shorter than 10 minutes so that it was a manageable task. Overall, we recommended 4 weeks at least for this task, because there is quite a lot of getting used to the platform to start with, and several steps of review. So you've got to give people time to review each other's work. There are other things that can be done with this. So in our translation masters, we ask students to use TED Talks to mine terminology for particular fields they're interested in. It can be used in many, many different ways. The activity just harnesses opportunities for dialogue and participation that is afforded in the internet, and developments arising from openness as an approach, and the application of open access, sorry, that's my timer, and open tools. And sorry, okay, can you stop? Oops, sorry about that. And the idea is that our students can engage creatively in real tasks that are meaningful and have an impact and can be showcased beyond the classroom. Thank you very much.